Jeremiah 10:3 reads, "For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth the tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fashion it with nails and with hammers that it move not." See, this is what they did. This sounds a lot like what people do today. They get these trees from a man selling them on the side of a road, or they go to their local Walmart and buy a plastic tree and they put it in their home. And most people say, I'm not bowing down or worshiping a tree, but you bow down and get those gifts out, don't you? That's a form of worship. You don't even know. People are blind. I'm going to read. It says, "For as much as there is none like unto thee," this is verse 6, "O Lord, thou art great, and thy name is great in might." See, the Lord is great. The Lord is mighty. Verse 8 says, "But they are altogether brutish and foolish. The stock," talking about the stock of a tree, "is a doctrine of vanities." See, we need to get away from this false type of worship. We read about, in this book, Until You Begin with Ships, we read about where Christmas and the origins of Christmas came from. And this whole book is actually about who the so-called African American is and what he needs to do to get back right with God. Why he's in the particular predicament that he's in, and it deals with the solution to our problem. All right, from a spiritual perspective. But let's go to deal with New Year's Day. All right, let's go to deal with New Year's Day. And where did that come from? Because again, that is also pagan. All right, let me read something to you. January, the first month in our present calendar, consists of 31 days. It is, however, not the first month of the year in the British Isles till the reformation of the calendar was made in 1752, when the legislature by an act passed in the preceding year altered the mode of reckoning time from the Julian to the Gregorian style. All right, so Pope Gregory came up with this calendar that we are currently using. All right, and January became the first day. At this period, it was directed that the legal year, which had commenced in some parts of the country on March 25th, and in others with January, should thenceforward be appointed to begin always on the 1st of January. So it moved from the first year being in March during spring, all right, on the Julian calendar, to January 1st. The consecration of the month took place on an offering meal, salt, frankincense, and wine, each of which was new. On the 1st of this month, all enmities were suspended, presents were exchanged, consuls installed, etc. The principal festivals now observed in this month are the following: January 1st, New Year's Day, which is pagan feast of the circumcision, which says that Jesus was circumcised on January 1st, which we know is a lie because he wasn't born on December 25th, 8 days later. They try to string all these lies together. January 6th, Epiphany, which is totally pagan. And January 25th, the conversion of St. Paul. All right, again, all these are false days. All right, Janus. Now, listen to this. Janus, a Roman god after whom the month of January is named. His temple was open in war and closed during peace, and the ceremony of closing for the third time in Roman history was performed by Augustus in 29 BC, when he had established his authority over the whole empire. All right, so that's where that comes from. That day comes from, that month comes from Janus, and that day comes at a time that was just used as the first of the year. All right. Let's see. Janus retained his native character amid the obscurity that hangs over the genuine Roman religion. It is difficult to determine the nature and origin of Janus. It is probably that he was the chief deity of one of the races which united the Roman people, and that his worship was maintained beside, but overshadowed by that of Jupiter, the chief deity of another of these races. All right, so this is where that comes from. All right, so that's you have people celebrating January 1st as if that's the beginning of the year. But I ask you this question: what's new at the very beginning of the year? All right, nothing. Nothing is new at the beginning of the year. As a matter of fact, you're in the dead of winter. See, the Lord is logical in everything that he does and everything that he set up. All right. For instance, a change of day does not actually occur at 12 midnight. Nothing's new. Nothing has changed. But from evening until evening, that's where you have the change in the days. All right, and you can see the actual change, and that's how you know you're going into a new day. That's why eve even means beginning. See, when that sun sets, for instance, when the Sabbath is coming in, the Sabbath starts on Friday, what we call Friday night. All right, when that sun sets, because that you see the change, and that brings in a new day, and it's not over to the next sunset. All right, that's an example. Another example is the beginning of the year is when things are anew. Not in the dead of winter when everything's dead, but when things begin to grow again in the beginning of spring. All right, so that's what the Lord has set up. But again, these pagans have set up something else. All right, and this again was accepted by the false Catholic Church. But I want to read something to you about when the first day or the first month of the year actually is. Okay, so let's go to Deuteronomy, the 16th chapter. Because again, we do these things and we have no idea what we're doing. Deuteronomy 16:1. It says, observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. See, that month of Abib is the first month. Let me read something else. Let's go all the way back to when it took place, what he's talking about. In Exodus, the 23rd chapter. Because that was what he gave Israel to do. See, Israel was keeping some other stuff that the Egyptians had. That's where they got the idea of those calves from. All right, that has always been our thing, to hold on to the false worship of other nations. But Exodus 23 and 15 reads, thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee in the time appointed of the month of Abib. In it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. See, that's when we came out of Egypt. But let's look again. So this is month Abib, the first month. Let's make sure. Let's go to Exodus 12. Exodus 12 and 1. This is when God commanded the sacrifice of the Passover lamb. Listen to what he says. We find out when the first year, this month of Abib that they're talking about. They call it Abib, but this is the first month, and this is in spring. If you know anything about Passover, you know it's in spring. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. All right. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. All right. So, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. That was the 6th verse. Okay, so what month? Again, the month of Abib. The 14th day of the first month, that's when you know the Passover is, but you know that is the month of Abib. All right, that's in the spring. All right, around the time of March or April. So that's when that is. All right, but we have all these other things that we do, and we really need to consider where they come from. All right, because they are pagan in origin. I just want to read you one other thing about Easter. Easter. This is out of the same book, Into Egypt Began with Ships. I just want to read something about Easter and where that actually comes from. Alright? This is on page 112. The name Easter comes from Ishtar, the pagan deity worshipped as the moon goddess, goddess of love and war, goddess of fertility, and the queen of heaven. You hear about the queen of heaven mainly among the Catholics, and you see that Easter is their most important day. Alright? But it's just old pagan worship. It has nothing to do with Jesus. You had to think about it. What do bunnies and eggs have to do with Jesus at all? Nothing. It has something to do with fertility. And these people had massive orgies at this time. Alright? And that's what you see, that's what that was about. And Christians should not be dealing with Easter. But we get our suit, pay our little money, the little money we have, and go buy a nice Easter dress, our kids a nice Easter suit, and they say they Easter speech in church, and they don't have any idea that what they're doing has nothing to do with God. Not the true and living God. So back to this. She was worshipped, talking about this Ishtar. She was worshipped throughout the world by different names. In Babylon, she was Ishtar. In Egypt, Isis. Istra among the Anglo-Saxons. Kali in India. Aphrodite in Greece, also known as Astarte, Ashtoreth, and Ashtoreth. According to Babylon legend, this goddess came from heaven in an